What did you
defensive line? I'm a defensive line expert.
But I love it. Yeah,
you were comparing me to Rod Marinelli.
That's where I was going.
You are at the level.
It's very
now,
similar. You just when you would look at Ahmed Fareed, you think defensive line. I think most people do. Oh, yeah, baby. What's up? It's Chris Simms Unbuttoned, and Ahmed Fareed, the specimen, the defensive line-looking handsome guy, is here wearing Chris Simms Unbuttoned apparel. I am the only host in America that has a host that wears apparel that the other host does not have. I don't understand it. It's very confusing. But, dude, you do look good in it. I mean, look, you've been working out lately.
Shirt.
You know what? The guns are popping out.
My wife said that to me, too.
Your pecs got a little, something to them. More than usual. They're usually a little disappointing. You're looking better. Maybe it's the shirt. I don't know.
It's not good, but there's something there. There's something to your pecs. I don't know what it is, if it's good or bad. No, my wife said that, too. I don't know if it's just shrunk, maybe. Maybe the T-shirt shrunk.
Maybe. All right. So you're telling me when you left the house today, the wife was like, hey, baby, you look good.
I picked up my backpack.
Right.
And she goes, oh, wow.
Wow.
Like
your muscles are bulging.
Was bigger than she thought they were going to be.
Oh, that's what she said. Well, I did not think we were going to go that way, but we did.
I'm glad we did, though.
Yeah, I am, too.
Well, I'm glad I'm wearing the shirt, too, because later on, we're going to talk to 3 homies.
Awesome.
Who were inside your head and picked the first 8 of your top 40 quarterback list. They're only 3 homies, and they're going to be with us via Zoom hopefully later on.
Can't wait.
I'm going to show them this shirt, and I'm going to say, this will be coming to you.
Yes.
We're going to make merch. This will be coming to you in about 7 to 8 years.
We'll get it there.
Yeah, he's guaranteed that in less than a decade, the merch will be made.
7 to 8 years, and all right, so that makes sense. That all lines up. 7 to 8 years for the merch. 7 or 8 years before we get the YouTube page going to 50,000. It'll all work out just right.
With this one promo, it'll get us over 50,000. We have a new YouTube page, everyone.
Huh?
Just for your NFL videos.
No.
YouTube.com/NFL on NBC. During the season, you'll see videos with Coach Dungy and the FNIA crew. How come it's just the Coach Dungy call out in the script
I know,
here,
right?
Why just Coach Dungy?
Well,
that's true. He is a friend of the pod.
He's
on the pod.
And he's the only one that's won a Super Bowl, I guess. So, well, Rodney did too.
Rodney's not mentioned here at all.
No, poor Rodney. Gosh.
We said we will continue to promote this until we get to 50,000 subscribers. Our other YouTube page at NBC Sports had 2 million.
Yeah.
We're going on our own here. Very brave move of us.
We're getting there. It's preseason. A lot of people are still at the beach and just casually paying attention to this stuff. You got to wait till it gets to back to the school, work schedule.
You're right.
And people start doing that, I would think, right?
Week 1, I think, Pete, week 1's a huge week. We're going to get, if we're not to 50,000 by week 1, we're going to blow through it after week 1. We're going to quit.
I'm out of here.
It's obviously not working. It's a failed experiment. We will quit. So go sign up. And if you already have, tell 37,000 of your friends to do it as well, and then we can stop reading that whole thing. We got the one player to watch in the AFC coming up, highly successful on Monday.
I like doing it.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
It's one player. If you got only one player to watch this preseason, who are you going to have your eyes on? Who's Chris going to have his eyes on? The homies gave some players for their team, so we'll go through every team in the AFC coming up. But we want to start with a new segment here on Chris Simms Unbuttoned.
Yeah.
It is time for Buy or Sell, presented by eBay Motors. Welcome to the family, eBay Motors.
What's up, eBay Motors? Nice to have you. It's awesome.
Hey, eBay Motors.
We'll see. Did I say that? Did I say that wrong? Or,
no.
Okay.
That was true.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, what's up? It was almost flirty.
Yeah.
We don't need to flirt.
Well, I've been known to be flirty before. I have been called that.
So what we'll do here, thanks to eBay Motors, it's a segment where we'll take a narrative, and we'll either buy it or we'll sell it. It's like, are you buying this narrative or are you selling it? Which I think oftentimes you do, but we'll see if that holds true in this new segment.
A lot of narratives right now, right around the league for sure.
So one that is affecting multiple teams out there is fighting in training camps, and the narrative that's out there right now from a lot of coaches, it seems, is that a certain amount of fighting is actually very bad. I think for years it's like, it's good to get the juices flowing, shows competitive spirit. But we're seeing in more and more training camps right now, coaches saying, fighting's not great. We've heard it from your guy, Kyle Shanahan, that says he wants irritants, not fighters. And then specifically with the Saints, Trevor Penning was kicked out of practice last week for starting a fight for the 3rd straight day. I think we got some video of that if you're watching on that new YouTube page or on Peacock as well. So 3 days in a row. And Dennis Allen was not happy about that from the rookie from Northern Iowa. He was very upset. Said, you can't have that. is just going crazy if you're watching it.
I love his quote too. His favorite thing about football. Did you see that there?
He legally assaulting the guy across from me.
Yeah, hey, that's it. It's the only time in life it's legal to actually assault a guy, so you might as well take advantage of it.
So yeah, what do you think here?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm gonna sell that narrative that it's a bad thing. Well, listen, everything's got different compartments that we could dive into, and of course we don't want melees breaking out and guys getting hurt. But I can say from my own personal experience, maybe the best teams I were ever on were chippy, and there was fights in training camp. The 2008 Tennessee Titans, #1 seed in the AFC playoffs that year, I was never a part of a team that fought more. And we had a tackle. We had a lot of offensive linemen, just like a Trevor Penning, who were always starting fights and doing that type of thing.
You think there was a guy who started one 3 days in a row?
Well, maybe not 3 days in a row, but maybe 2 or 3 times a week for sure. Yes, and not that they always got into this huge team fight, but added some juice to the practice, made it more competitive, and that's where I think there's a lot of good to it. Again, I know there's a line that we don't want to cross, but the teams that I were on that never fought or never did anything, man, they just never seemed to have any life on the football field in the regular season either. And then the season got over, and I just felt, oh man, we didn't have a lot of guys maybe that were totally invested or cared the way they should. The team I was on my rookie year, the 2003 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after they won the Super Bowl. You want to talk about a chippy bunch? What? That crew right there? I mean, if you don't think there was a little scuffle or fight every day in practice, you're crazy. We had a bunch of crazy guys on that defense, and then the offense had to try to, match that intensity and slow them down. So to me, I find it to be a good thing. Again, I know there's a line that you don't want to cross here. I get that. I'm not trying to take both sides here. But usually it is the teams that have a lot of, we got a lot of alpha, physical, you're not going to beat me on any play today type of guys. And then they're coached like that too, to let's not be bullied by anybody. Let's pedal to the metal. Let's play that way. And even being in New England as an assistant coach and all that, there was a chippy team there too. You don't think Tom Brady's a little chippy? We know he is, and a lot of other guys as well. So I look at it more as a positive thing, than a negative thing. Yeah. I'd be more worried if, we didn't have one fight all training camp and everything was good. I'd go, well, I'm not sure you guys will be all that good this year during the season.
I get that. You'll take too much fighting than no fighting.
Exactly, I would. If you gave me one or the other, I'd rather have too much than yes, the other way around.
How about a coach fighting a player? Because the Giants had that in practice. Their offensive line coach Bobby Johnson.
This is a great one.
Pushing the linebacker Cam Brown down.
Right.
Brian Daboll said sometimes that happens, but in no way do we condone that. So they didn't like that one. It was started by this hit by Saquon Barkley. So I guess here's Saquon trucking defensive back Aaron Robinson.
Right, which, he lowers the pads. He's coming in, kind of hot. And I don't think he, necessarily, you're looking for thuds at this type of practice. Egos get bothered by this. Look, and as you can see, Robinson's a little bit, not looking good on social media with this type of thing.
Looks like he was letting up a little bit, or he wasn't going to tackle him full steam.
Exactly. Well, he can't tackle the running back. He's probably just got a thud, right?
Yes.
And, kind of, emulate the tackle, give him a thud, and get off. But what happens sometimes is you're Saquon Barkley and you're going through the hole a million miles per hour, and there's a lot of people on you that you don't run physical enough and you don't run hard enough, and so you're trying to run hard and you're not intending to run anybody over, but you're making cuts at full speed, and you make a cut and you go, oh gosh, there's a guy there, and I can't slow down in time, so let me just lower it. And that's what starts. Now, I will say with the coaching thing, that is one you don't see very often.
Yeah.
And I would say in the locker room, and I think Bobby Johnson has alluded to this already as far as the O-line coach, that coaches aren't supposed to cross that line. Coaches aren't supposed to take sides. Coaches are the ones get in, try to separate it, do that. It's because the player can't fight back against the coach. And that's where it's a little unfair that way. And
right.
I think, he knew he crossed, one of those unwritten rules or code of honor in the NFL where, again, we know most of the guys on the team could probably whoop Coach Johnson's butt, and there he was getting in a few licks and pushes there a little bit.
So that is one where you would rather actually have no coaches fighting the team than too much coaches fighting.
The coaches, yes. The coaches got to be the people that come in and are the cooler heads prevail type of people.
Well, the good thing about this, though, is that it at least produced a picture, a meme that's on the internet now if you're watching this again. John Feliciano being dragged away from the fight
look
by
at his belly hanging out.
But that new helmet, that newfangled helmet that they're wearing, the padding over the helmet.
Right. Is he grabbing the jersey or the head thing? It looks like he's grabbing that damn head pad,
I think
which
he's
makes it
grabbing
look
the
better.
Head pad.
He's
But maybe
got
it
both,
is the jersey
I think,
too.
maybe.
Yeah.
But I love like Daniel Jones just standing over him too. Like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, he looks dead. He looks almost dead.
I'm sure, and this is what's good about football and great about these type of situations, and is that I would bet later that day, team meeting that night, maybe the next morning, that they showed some of those pictures maybe, and like they have some fun with it, and that's how you bring it back together.
Right.
And, hey, I know we're all out here fighting, we're all out here tired. You know, we talk about this every year. You get sick of seeing the same guy in front of you every day.
Yes.
And he's starting to learn your moves and nuances, and you've learned his moves and nuances. And, you know, there's a day where you're tired or they're telling you not to go to full speed and that jerk's going full speed. And that's just part of it. But, again, like I said, I'd rather see too many fights than no fights at all.
Last thing for me, does the offense always end up hating the defense and vice versa? Or do they make up after training camp?
No, they make up. They do. It's definitely one of those things. I really think it's actually you're at the end of the hate period of the defense or offense, whatever you're on the opposite side of, because now we're going to start getting into preseason football. There's going to be limited practices that are going to be quite as intense anymore. And the monotony is finally going to get broken up. You're going to have a day off after the preseason game. You know, the day before the preseason game is going to be an easy day and a walkthrough. And then, of course, you know, for a lot of the veterans, the preseason game themselves is just going to be easy. It's going to be like, go out there and warm up.
Right.
So that'll change the attitude of training camp. There's light at the end of the tunnel when the preseason game gets here. I used to be like, oh, gosh, there's a preseason game. Finally.
Yeah.
Thank God. Holy cow. It means we're getting to the end and we can play somebody else. And, you know, Gruden or whoever is not going to micromanage me to death in practice. And I can just go out and play some football. And I think that's always a positive for the players.
You don't have to fight anyone anymore.
Right.
It's just like put away your boxing gloves and go play a game. So that was Buy or Sell, presented by eBay Motors. You might not have the biggest garage, but with eBay Motors, you always have 122 million parts for your car right at your fingertips.
Wow.
ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. 122 million
I was
parts.
say, is there that many parts in a car? I don't know.
That's why you got it. That's why they're so expensive to go get them fixed.
Yeah, I guess so.
I got to figure out what one of 122 million parts I got to use right here.
Yes.
Your Tesla's in the shop right now?
I'm
Pete just mentioned.
You know, yes. I'm supposed to have a new Tesla, but I was supposed to have it a year ago.
Yeah.
So we're still waiting, you know, the chip problem and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And, hey, I love Teslas. I do. I love driving my Tesla.
Sure.
You know that.
Yep.
The one thing I'll say is that department and then Tesla is not the best, you know. Elon Musk, there's a lot of times where I want to get on Twitter and go, can you just shut up and make your customer service better or your customer service center better? Because it's the worst in its class by far.
Oof.
It is. That's the only bad thing I'll tell you about Tesla. Great car, a lot of fun to watch. Customer service, sucky ducky.
Okay.
Customer service center, sucky ducky times 2.
Yeah.
And for what you're paying for it, it's a little disappointing in that department.
So if it doesn't break, you're fine. You're loving it.
Yes,
But
right.
when it breaks.
When it breaks, it's very, very annoying.
There's problems.
Yes,
All right.
right.
All right, so thanks to eBay Motors. Welcome to the family. I think that's a fun segment.
I liked it a lot.
I like to
I
get in
did.
your brain on some of these
Yes.
things, some of these storylines out there, and see if we can bust some narratives.
Yeah,
all
that's
right,
cool.
now time for one player to watch. If you were with us on the on Monday's pod, you know what we're about to do here. We did the NFC over there, so if you missed that and one of your favorite teams is on the NFC or in the NFC, go over there and listen to that. So this is basically, Chris, throughout all of preseason, if you could pick one player that you're super interested to focus on and just to see how they perform, good or bad. You may be expecting good or bad things, but you think they're vital. You're going to pick that one player for each of these teams, right?
Yep. Like that, you know. You know me, I can be too much of a big mouth and give you a few other things here, but
okay.
I'm going to do my best to keep it to one guy and maybe give a thought or two on just some other things to watch.
And as you heard in the top of the podcast, I am now the Rod Marinelli of broadcasters when it comes to defensive linemen.
You are.
I'm an
Definitely.
expert. I'm a savant, so I have gone through and picked one defensive lineman to watch for each of these AFC teams. So we'll throw him in there as well. We're going to go in order of worst odds to best odds to win the AFC, which, by the way, some of these surprised me as well. We got to some teams quicker than I thought we were going to get to. I was like, oh, they don't have better odds than that?
Right.
So we'll get to that. Texans we start with. They are plus 12,500, a.k.a. 125 to 1. Pete goes, I swear I got the conversion right that time. There was some confusion last time.
Just a little.
And I saw some comments from the homies. They were like, it's just moving the decimal 2 places over. It's like, it's not that difficult. To us, it was very difficult. 125-1, the Texans to win the AFC, a rebuilding team still.
Yeah, still in the process, certainly. And I think going in the right direction. I think really, for the most part, Nick Caserio has been doing a lot of value spending and, trying to get maybe some of the meat and potatoes part of the roster set before he starts to really go into the sizzle aspect of it. This one was an easy one to me, because, of course, I thought this number 3 pick of this draft was a little bit controversial and risky, and I wouldn't have done it. I know that. And that's Derek Stingley Jr. All right? And I see we got John Britton here, one of our listeners. He says Derek Stingley can't wait to watch his progression this season. And I'm like, I'm with you there, John, all the way. I want to see the progress. I want to see if he really is, what we thought he was going to be his freshman year in college, and what obviously Nick Caserio, and I know he's not alone, other people in football thought as well. To me, when my concerns throughout the draft process, I wasn't thoroughly impressed. I think there was a lot of we're going off the rivals.com and high school recruiting and that freshman year, and even though the last 2 years it wasn't that great, it didn't matter. That freshman year, they won that national championship, and we're just going to ride that all the way home. So, again, I'm not doubting that he can't be a good NFL corner. I know that. When you're number 3, you're supposed to be the man, shut down, island guy. And I don't know if I see that, so I'm certainly going to have my eyes on him.
For the defensive line, there was a player kind of in that same vein, and I'll just bring him up now.
Cool.
Ross Blacklock, a former 40th overall pick in 2020. Hasn't really lived up to the hype.
Right.
The defensive line coach there says he understands he has to make a big jump. So, Stingley hasn't shown anything on the field yet, but Ross is already showing some signs of maybe being a bust as a higher pick, and so he'll be one interesting to watch on the defensive line for them.
I had high hopes for him coming out. I did.
Yeah, you did like him.
Yeah, I did. I mean, he's really athletic. I would think he would fit this Lovie Smith scheme, which we know is 4-3, Tampa 2. Hey, here's your gap, win with athleticism, and I thought he could really be perfect for that type of system. It hasn't popped yet. Maybe this is the year. Hopefully it is. Again, there's a big adjustment sometimes for these guys, and sometimes for a lot of NFL players, it doesn't all click till year 3, to where you really start to understand nuances, technique, what the defense is exactly asking me to do on a play-by-play basis. You come from TCU and the Big 12, where we know they only run the ball 3 times a game in that conference. So there's things that I think are thrown at people a little bit that they adjust to, and we'll see. I know he has the physical ability. It's just you got to put it all together.
Have you heard anything on Stingley yet?
No, not yet.
No
and I think he just is getting back out there in the swing of things. I think they were taking him slowly,
sure.
As far as because of the foot injury and all that. I think it's all going in the right direction. But those are ones where I would never believe what the team says about him at this point, because they got to sell it. He was the number 3 pick.
Yeah.
And, of course, we know how the media can be. Sometimes you can trust them. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes they see one bad play and they just make it all off of that.
Yep.
So we'll see. And hopefully this weekend or, preseason game number 2, we get a good feel for it.
Just above them in the odds to win the AFC is the New York Jets at plus 8,000. They're one player to watch from Gastoon. Says he's going to be watching Zach Wilson. Everything else is in place for him to succeed. Ball is in his court now. His player to watch is Zach Wilson this preseason.
Well, I don't doubt that. I mean, I'm there with him. That's kind of like obvious one, and we know that. And honestly, I'm not. Maybe I'm in the minority. I'm just not that concerned. I am pretty confident with what they've done around him and things like that. That I think it will be a good year. I'd be surprised if it was not. I think they've done the right things to prop him up, and I think the offensive system is good, all that. Garrett Wilson's a guy I certainly got my eye on.
Wide receiver.
And I feel like for, again, a guy that was the number 10 pick, right, if I remember correctly, I haven't heard a ton of buzz about him yet, which, I'm always, and again, I'm not trying to draw conclusions, but here's my guy all the way. And I see who you've written down.
Yes.
Go ahead. So tell me yours.
So my defensive lineman to watch, Carl Lawson.
Right.
Tore his Achilles last year, didn't get to play for him. See if he's getting back and getting healthy, because they need someone up front there.
Exactly right. My thought is right along with you, okay? I'm along there. Now, I'm not going Carl Lawson, though. I'm going to go with Jermaine Johnson III, right? And just for a lot of reasons. I think, but I think we're on the same reason here. It's the Seattle scheme. It's Robert Saleh. They really want to rush 4 and, play their zone coverages and do that. And it's just, this is a defense that, yeah, pass rush maybe a little bit more important than some other defenses out there. They make those, wide 9 technique, just get after the quarterback. They almost sometimes don't even have to worry about the run game, and they use their speedy linebackers to fill up all the holes that way. But Jermaine Johnson is a guy who I have high expectations for. I don't expect Carl Lawson to come back 100% all systems go right away. So I want to see, can Jermaine Johnson be that guy to kind of hold down the fort and win some one-on-ones early in the year to where, okay, now it's week 5. Carl Lawson's feeling good. Uh-oh. Jermaine Johnson's been playing good, and now Carl Lawson's about to be totally 100%. Watch out. So I think that's the one that jumps out to me maybe more than others.
Yeah, watching the draft with you, that was one player where you're like, why is he still available?
Right.
And then hearing the Jets talk about it, they were thinking the same thing.
Yes.
Go, why is he still available? It gives you some pause, too. You're like, what are we missing that other teams know?
Well, I think there were some teams that didn't love the guy altogether,
yes.
right? Maybe, I've heard, people thought he was too cocky. They wondered why it didn't work out in Georgia, all of that. So we'll see. But, yes, I know the Jets loved him for sure, to echo your point there.
Bobby Rinaldi says Breece Hall is his guy. The focus will be on Zach, but Breece having success can help him a ton.
No doubt. And I'm certainly excited to see him, too. I mean, they got a lot of young guys that I can't wait to watch. I didn't pick him just because, hey, they got some other good running backs, too. Michael Carter, the second, he's really damn good, too. So it's not desperate that Breece Hall, performs at a high level. That's why I didn't pick him.
Sure.
But, man, yes, that would be nice. If you can get those receivers going with Zach Wilson and, here's a check down to Breece Hall, and everyone's way downfield trying to stop Zach Wilson bombs, and now he's one-on-one with a linebacker underneath, that can end up looking like a bomb down the field because he can catch it and go 80 yards to the house, and I'm excited about what he brings to the NFL.
Maybe a little surprising that the Jaguars have better odds to win the AFC than the Jets right now, plus 6,600, although maybe they listened to the pod on Monday and you were very impressed with what you saw just from the Jaguars players out there, and they looked the part, at least like a team that could be better this year than they were last year.
Definitely.
All right, so you got to see him firsthand. Who you're going to keep your eye on?
Well,
now?
I'm gonna Evan Ingram's going to prove people wrong. That's the one I just want to tell people that right off the bat. He's going to show a lot of people things were just not necessarily. I didn't maybe do my best and all of that, but I would be shocked if he doesn't jump on the scene. But Travis Etienne's the guy I'm looking at.
Oh, yeah.
Travis Etienne is just, didn't get to do anything last year. How are they going to use him with the offense? He can be kind of the jack of all trades, the joker guy where you just go, wait, is he going to be played running back? Does he play slot receiver? And I kind of just want to see how they use him and then, what his explosive ability looks like in the NFL. He wasn't crazy, oh my gosh, 80-yard touchdowns in college. But, he can break a lot of tackles for his size, a lot of awesome 30 and 40-yard runs. And, of course, they're very impressed with his route running. So I guess I just want to see kind of what he looks like and what the role is within the offense. And he could be a guy that could end up being a mismatch nightmare if it all works out for the Jaguars.
Trevor Lawrence, who's seen him before, is he looks even better now. So
they got James Robinson. We know how good he is at a running back position, too. So I think that adds to the intrigue, at least in my opinion. He's got some, I think if you remember, some Alvin Kamara-ish tools to him. And I'm not trying to say he's him yet because Kamara has been very special, but I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up being that type of guy here in the NFL.
I'm going with my defensive lineman, Arden Key, who struggled with San Francisco but finally had kind of a breakout year last year. Just signed still a relatively cheap deal. 1 year, $4 million. Had a couple of the sacks in that preseason game already.
Looked good.
He did.
He looked good. Looks the part. He's a specimen. No question about it. And, he's one of those guys that's, it's like he's a good player. We're not sure if we want to pay him star money. And he has the potential to be like, oh, wait, who got 9 sacks this year? Oh, man, now we got to pay him something like that. So I hear you there. I mean, I know everyone's going to be looking at Trayvon Walker, but it's some of these second-level guys for the Jaguars that got to produce, too, to make their stars look better. And he was very impressive looking in person, Ahmed.
Well, homie Fernando Rodriguez will be looking at Trayvon Walker. He wants to know if you could elaborate on what the Jags can do with that 3-4 defensive scheme and how it differs from what we are used to seeing with the 4-3 scheme.
Right. Well, so, the 3-4 scheme, and I believe Trayvon Walker on the last roster I saw is listed as an outside linebacker. So, this day and age in the NFL, even when they say you're a 3-4 scheme, it's very rare that you're actually in the 3-4. because so few teams actually get 2 running backs, a tight end, and 2 receivers on the field and play that kind of old school style of football to where you would go 3-4. But what it does is, the 3-4 scheme can give you some different looking fronts at times where, hey, whoa, there's a defensive end on the edge of the tackle, but oh, wait, Trayvon Walker now is standing up outside the tight end on this side. And, whoa, they're going to have to think about protection and how they're going to block that and all of these types of – so it can create some issues, the 3-4, as far as just how to run block, how to pass block certain things. There's more different combinations you can bring as far as the blitzes. Majority of teams – are 4-3 in the NFL to where they practice against it all the time. And they get in the 3-4, and it's like some rules change. It can blow a gasket with offensive linemen that way.
Yeah.
And then the biggest thing, too, and you've heard me say this a million times, and I don't mean to be annoying or anything here, but we've talked about this a lot. I mean, we talked about it in the barn during the draft and all of that. He didn't get to just get outside wide and go after people. And, majority of the game, like I said, they're going to be in a nickel defense where he is going to have the hand down on the ground. He's going to be wide, and he's going to be able to go get the quarterback, and that's really awesome. But 3-4 outside linebacker is more stand-up. The run's coming. He's going to have to set the edge, try to force the run back in, and then there'll be times where he can be Lawrence Taylor on the edge, and you just go, wait, there's 3 down linemen. They got 2 linebackers on both edges. We're not sure which one's going to come, and he'll be in that track sprinter stance, or not, maybe the wide receiver stance, I should say,
right,
and coming off the edge or maybe dropping into coverage. But hopefully that explains the question there.
They hope one day he can be maybe something like a TJ Watt that the Steelers have,
right,
and they are plus 5,000 to win the AFC. Jake Scanlon, a homie, says, I got to go with George Pickens as his player to watch. He's been on the front page of our training camp hype so far for good reason. He's been making flashy plays, catches left and right and center. If it makes you wonder if he would have been a first-round pick if it weren't for the injury here.
Yes.
And before we get to yours, I think we have some video on George Pickens, who is out there at training
almost
camp.
Every day you see a video of this guy. I mean, look at this.
Oh, he's not giving up on it. Oh, what an acrobatic catch.
Yeah. He's had a lot of impressive catches, even though that was for a 1-yard gain right there.
Yeah.
That was still unbelievable, concentration and ability to go back and get it.
It's just too bad they got the big head, because it doesn't look as cool when you got the foam on the helmet.
The bobblehead look is not cool. Definitely not.
It's like, what a great catch, but you can never show that again.
Yeah, I know. Right.
Look like a bobblehead. You're right.
He is. He was a first-round talent if he's not injured. So Jake is totally 100% right about that. I'm really excited to see him too, because damn, I mean, you talk about him, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool in certain situations with those 3 on the field, and you got Najee Harris, and even the Calvin Austin I love, the little jitterbug guy. I mean, they're going to be able to stress some defenses out that way. All right, I wrote down 2 guys, and I'm going to go with one, of course, but one of my guys was the guy you wrote.
Oh.
And I like your pick there. So let's just talk about him for a second, and then I'll go to my guy.
DeMarvin Leal.
Right.
So let me look at my notes that I wrote on him here. Yeah, a 3rd-round pick out of Texas A&M.
Yep.
He's a rookie. Has turned some heads in camp already.
Good. He should.
He's been explosive off the ball. Reports are he's got some powerful hands. And so, Leal, maybe a hit in the draft for the Steelers.
I think so. And again, that's not going to be my pick, but I do like that you gave them some love, because one of my things with the Steelers the last year or two is lack of depth on the defensive line. It's been like 1 or 2 injuries, and then it's like, whoa, they're not very good on defense anymore, and everyone's running for 140 yards on them. So they needed a little depth and another playmaker other than Cam Hayward and Watt on the front line of the line of scrimmage there. He's one of those guys that we talk about, hybrid, where he could be a really disruptive defensive tackle or a big defensive end, right? And I liked him out of A&M, and I think you kind of hit the scouting report right there as far as what he can bring to the table. So I am excited to watch him there. The guy I'm going to bring up is a middle linebacker, Devin Bush. All right, they got Miles Jack there. And Miles Jack, I don't have any doubt about it. Miles Jack is still awesome, and I think they got a steal for him. And the fact that they got to him and got rid of Joe Schobert and got that, to me it was like, whoa! I cannot believe the upgrade, and that they're only having to pay a guy like Miles Jack like $8 million or so. I mean, Miles Jack for my money, is still one of the better linebackers in all of football. Devin Bush, as we know, they traded up a bunch of picks to get him a few years ago. He hurt his knee, unfortunately, and he's not been the same. And he was disappointing last year. I mean, disappointing. And I think they've said that flat out. And it's a very important position for that defense. Like, you remember Ryan Shazier, right?
Yep.
They like the athletic middle linebacker because their defense is chaos, right? You know, Blitzburg. It's people going this way and people going this way, and this guy's stunning this. And the linebackers got to kind of be able to, like, read it all and be able to react and be extremely athletic off of that to fill in the gaps. Because when you're doing this and that and this and that, guys aren't going to always be where they need to be. So you need a crazy who can just get in there and be, I got it, don't worry, I made the tackle.
Yeah.
For anybody else, that would have been a 70-yard gain, but I'm a freak middle linebacker, and that was a 4-yard gain. And he has not been that. So I am going to be watching him just to see if the explosive ability is back. That's the biggest thing. That's when you even watched it last year, you're just like, this ain't the same guy. And I hope he can turn that around. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like a key to that defense, and if he is a lot better, maybe that plus 5,000 is a good bet for the Steelers, who I'm surprised are this low on the list because, you know, Mike Tomlin has never had a losing year.
I think you're right. This is the first surprise of the list.
They figure, and then just ahead of them is the New England Patriots, who may be down a little farther than you thought, because it seems like they have some pieces in place that could make a step next year. Maybe Mac Jones is the only one, but a lot of homies chiming in on this one. Neil watches PFT. He always chimes in on many things. We like Neil.
He does. Neil's awesome.
Cole Strange, he said, would love to see how he matches up against the best of them. Cole Strange was the guy that everyone thought was like, what? Cole Strange out of UT Chattanooga?
Yes,
is that
exactly
the guy?
right. Exactly. The whole world flipped out because Sean McVay made that comment during the draft, right?
We wasted our time scout thinking that guy was going to fall to us in the whatever.
Right. But again, I will stand up for the Patriots here and say that, I know maybe he wasn't viewed as that first rounder, but we had a run of offensive linemen. And for me, he was definitely the next best one. And they have a need there, and they went and got it. And I did not think that was a crazy pick. To me, he was a guy that was worthy of being a top 42, top 45 pick. Oh, no, they took him at 27. Oh, my gosh. No, they needed it. So I hear you there. We'll all be watching that for sure.
Yeah.
The guy I'm going to go with here is Tyquan Thornton. I'm going to go with the receiver from Baylor. We know a little bit of the history of the Patriots and drafting receivers. It's not good.
Right.
It's not. They have not killed it in that department. In fact, they've found, I feel like, better free agents and trade partners than actual guys they've drafted and developed that way. So I think that adds, some intrigue to the situation a little bit. And I've heard he is, been pretty good so far up there in New England camp. And, he's one of those guys where it was very raw. You see the speed, and it's real. I mean, It's real. There's no question about it. But, wasn't a go-to weapon for the Baylor offense. Doesn't always play great through contact and all that. But obviously, Belichick and company saw something there. And I think I want to know what he's going to be, because if there's one thing that maybe they miss on offense to me is home run ability.
Yeah.
Right?
They're starting wide receivers, Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, they're really good. But they're not, that group's not the type where you go, I'm bumping, running. Oh, gosh, I'm shaking in my boots because this guy might run by me, right? He can maybe provide that. And that, to me, has great value, especially in an offense that I think is going to be able to run the ball and has a pretty good stable of running backs. I do like, remember the guy, they drafted that Pierre Strong, the running back in the 4th round, who's also a home run hitter that I'm excited to see. But, yeah, I think he can be that take the top off the defense type of guy, back the defense off a little bit for the running game and for all their great underneath passing game, too. So I really want to see him.
2nd-round pick. You figure he will play in this preseason. Chris will be watching him. Matthew Takis says, from a Patriots fan perspective, I'd say cornerback Jack Jones on defense, especially considering the losses of Gilmore, Jackson the past year or so. I'd want to know that we got guys that'll adequately keep up with Hill, Diggs, keep them covered. Some tight ends out there. It's a
good thought. He was one of the under-the-radar steals of the draft to me.
He was a 4th-round pick out of Arizona State.
Arizona State, right? I think before that he was at USC as a very high recruit. See, that's where New England's good. They do their due diligence. That's how they got J.C. Jackson. He was a guy that was a very high recruit, had some off-the-field things that went on and kind of slipped between the cracks, and they kept their eye on him. And I feel like this is kind of the same way, the same type of guy. And yeah, they've had some turnover in the secondary. Both the Joneses are I'm excited to see. Him and then Marcus Jones, who was in my top 5, a nickel guy out of Houston.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. I want to see what they can bring to the table here. It's funny. They actually have 3 Joneses in the secondary: Jack Jones, Jonathan Jones, and Marcus Jones.
It'd be so confusing.
It will be.
Keep it away from Jones.
The Joneses.
I can't.
Isn't there a saying like that? The Joneses. What is
keeping up with the Joneses.
Keeping up with the Joneses. Duh. Yeah.
Keep it away from the Joneses.
Keep it away from the Joneses.
It's impossible.
Right.
The whole defense is Joneses. You got to throw it to one of them. My defensive lineman to watch is Christian Barmore. 2021 second-round pick. Apparently spent the offseason working on his conditioning. Bill Belichick even mentioned that in a press conference.
Yep.
And reports from Patriots.com, take it with a grain of salt, but they say he has been the best player for the Patriots on either side of the ball this training camp.
I don't doubt that. And listen, if the Patriots.com is saying that, they've gotten the okay to say that. Like, nothing gets said there without the master saying it can be said.
Yeah.
All right? So, they're not just going out on a whim going, we're the media guys and we don't know what the we're looking at, and that guy's the best player. And they know because they've heard it from the coaches and all that. And I think you and I talked about this a little last year during the season. There was a time, and I think Pete can back me up, where I kept going, I think Barmore might be the best pass rusher on their team. Just his ability to push the pocket and be disruptive. I know Matthew Judon was very good, and certainly not trying to disrespect him that way, but I like that pick by you. I think quietly he could be one of those guys that, ends up being a star defensive tackle here. They might have hit gold with this guy.
F up the play guy.
Right
in the middle
mother
there for the
play.
Patriots. All right, we gave you 7 players to watch and our 1 player to watch for the Patriots.
Are you going to say swear soon?
No, I will not.
You're not going to say a swear anytime soon?
So Pete noted last time.
Yes, what was that?
We did get a Twitter comment about some player, and at home he said 3 rockets up his, what.
Yeah, his ass, and you said rear.
I said rear. You let it go.
Yeah. I can't believe I let it go.
You let it go.
I'm so disappointed in myself that I let you do that. Jeez.
I just kept going. I was like, he didn't say anything. I can't believe this. All right, so that's the Patriots. We'll see if we can give you maybe just one guy to watch for the Raiders, although I like all those suggestions from the homies too. Raiders at plus 2,200, 2,200 to win the AFC. Ant 243 Estrada, all caps, says Alex Leatherwood. That's it. Just Alex Leatherwood, all caps. Offensive lineman for them, right?
I am with him. That's
your
my
guy?
That is my guy.
Wow.
I don't have too many questions. I don't have too many questions about the Raiders roster. Can they add a little sizzle here and there, whatever else? And I know they're still going to, they're still in the process of trying to conform to Patrick Graham, who's a little bit more 3-4-ish, and they just came from Gus Bradley in the Seattle scheme. So there's going to be some transition there. But Leatherwood, first off, offensive line they're not great there with the Raiders. It's not one of the strengths of their football team, and we know Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr, Devontae Adams. Josh McDaniels wants to stay patient with the run game. He's not, I don't think, going to be the type of guy that's going to want to throw it 45 times a game and just make it predictable that way. So, and Leatherwood was underwhelming last year, and yeah, where does he fit in? Is he going to fit in? Is he going to be able to, live up to being, what was he, the 18th pick? Again, I'm just going off the top of my head here, but I believe he was the 18th pick, and it was one of those controversial Mike Mayock, John Gruden first-rounders that we're not sure about. And, I see a lot of the traits, and I think when he came out in the draft, 2 years ago, I said that. There was a lot, but man, there was a lot of also like, well, he didn't move his feet, and he fell off the guy, or he missed this guy, and all that. He has the physical ability and size and all that to be a stud. But can he do it? Can he put it all together, mentally, physically, be comfortable that way and do it? So I'm definitely going with him.
17th pick.
17th pick.
Yeah, you were one off.
Damn, I'm not
so
smart.
Close. Man, that was so close.
I know. I'm not an expert.
So you and the homies agree with that one. I think offensive line is a question. I think actually defensive line, the front is a question.
I think you're right there. I don't mean to belittle that. Or,
no.
Or
I'm just saying
that
both of these work together here.
Yeah.
And so my defensive lineman to watch here is actually a guy who's not on the team yet. They've worked out Danny Shelton, possible signing there. So I guess just maybe watch if they sign him or someone else, because they've already had Hankins and Nichols on the PUP list.
Right.
Vernon Butler placed on the non-football injury list. So not only were they maybe a little weak on some of those defensive tackle guys, of course they got Chandler Jones and Max Crosby on the outside.
That's awesome.
But those big dudes up front, they got a question there.
They do. And this goes back into the question we got with 3-4 and 4-3 a little bit, and like where the differences are and all that. And again, even with those nickel defenses where it might be 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers and a nickel, defenses like this, they're still going to have some 3-4 principles from their defensive tackle, and I think that's where Danny Shelton might fit into here. And Vernon Butler is the kind of guy that can do that, but yes, he's on the non-football whatever list there. Andrew Billings may be a guy that can do that, but it goes into even with nickel defense and a Patrick Graham scheme. They might ask the defensive tackles, hey, we want you head up over the guard here and just stand them up. And if you get doubled, make a mosh pit. If it's a run, hold your guy up. Try to, two-gap it to where, oh, wait, the runner's over here. Okay, disengage. I'm going to make the tackle. The linebacker will play off you. And that's what I was just talking about, where I don't know if they've made that full transition within their roster yet of those type of guys. And I think they're trying to do that. And I think that's where Danny Shelton fits in. Danny Shelton was with the Giants and Patrick Graham. He knows the crew a little bit, and they're probably looking for that kind of space eater to help out their defense.
So we'll see what they do there. It's a tough task for the Raiders this year because they're in a very
Look at Matthew Casey eating more food. Look at him. This
is always the danger of walking in the background here.
Yes, I got him, too. I love it. He was trying to be quiet and go by sly, but I got him.
Yeah,
his ass.
He will never make
Guy
that walk
lives in the
again.
Cafeteria. We can't get him to work. He's always eating in the cafeteria.
He will take an alternate route from here on out.
Yes.
We just guaranteed that.
His cheeks are as red as his shirt
We just
now.
guaranteed that. So the Raiders, they could be better, but they could still be in last place in their division. Dolphins have had a pretty tough division throughout the years. Bills getting better. Patriots have always been in the mix. They're plus 2,000 to make it to win the AFC.
Yeah.
Let's see. Flamboyant Tarzan.
Whoa. That's awesome.
The player he's looking at.
Sounds Miami-ish there. That just sounds Miami, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I mean, flamboyant Tarzan. I picture like some guy with like, a bright yellow Tarzan or bright pink whatever.
Yeah.
And with very little clothes on, because that's what you do in Miami.
It's like a nightclub will advertise. It's like, hey, on Thursday, Flamboyant Tarzan will be here,
That's
right?
Exactly right.
Just come at
free
2 a.m.
Drinks.
Yeah, free drinks
for
after
the best Tarzan.
After
the
3
most
a.m.
flamboyant
Yeah,
one.
exactly. If you're nominated as the Flamboyant Tarzan, you will win. Well, you get your question read on Chris Sims Unbuttoned, or at least the guy you're watching for the Miami Dolphins, and he is watching with Eric Azukanama.
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver. Oh, he would go with that, but he's going to go with Channing Tindall. He pulled a U. He got 2 names in there. Azukanama, 3rd-round rookie from Texas Tech. Tindall's a 4th-round rookie from Georgia.
Right. Some of your reading there.
That was not. Yeah, it was not smooth at all. Well, how do you say his last name? Eric Azukanama.
I think so. I don't know either. I'm not sure.
You're just like, I'm glad you tried it. And
exactly
not me.
right. Exactly. A guy, he does have some physical traits.
Double E.
Double E. I like that too. All right. Well, the Dolphins are like, they're a weird one. I mean, hey, we all want to see Tua. I do want to say, like, it's hard for this is one team where I'd want to just go offensive line. Let's just watch the offensive line. And I'm going to give a player here in a second, but I just want to make that point because that's the weakness of their football team. Tua is not the type of quarterback who's going to be able to stand in there with pressure around him and make big throws down the football field. So the offensive line's been a much talked about point with the Dolphins. And then, of course, when you add in Mike McDaniel and it's the Shanahan scheme and all of that type of stuff, I mean, it's really I can't even pick one guy out. I'm not worried about Teron Armstead. I know he's going to be good. It's just like, who's the other 4 they're going to go with? How is it going to play out that way, and how much better can he make them? So I just want to throw that out there. But I think the next guy that I'm going to go with here, I'm going to go with Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips to me came on to the end of the year as like, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, just a guy where I thought, oh, this could be, he could be starting to look like the guy I thought he could be, which I thought Jalen Phillips was a top 10 pick that year. And
you were higher on him
than maybe most.
Started out the year, you're like, oh, maybe I was wrong.
Right, I wasn't sure.
Wasn't
and then he started to come on and kind of become a sack machine. And I just he's one of those guys where I walked away from the year going, I think the light bulb came on and he's comfortable mentally, and now the physical traits are starting to show up. So he's, I think, at the top of my list. Noah Igbanye, who I've always butchered his name, and I actually practiced it before we started here, would be another guy that is on my list too, because if they can get him going with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, you just go, ooh, wow, that secondary could be special. So there was a few guys there I didn't mean to cop out. I'm going with Jalen Phillips as my guy, but, there's a few things to watch there in Miami.
Igbenogany.
Igbenogany.
Is that right, Pete? Igbenogany.
We're horrible.
Ezukama. Eric Ezukama.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of people that liked him coming out.
Man,
I mean,
this
a lot.
Is rough.
I think they were.
Hey, maybe we can't do the Dolphins anymore.
I know.
Maybe we just can't do it.
I know.
Tua.
I mean, I couldn't say that's what I mean. I couldn't say his last name forever either.
I don't think we can do the Dolphins anymore.
The damn flamboyant Tarzans.
It's too embarrassing for us. I'll go with Christian Wilkins because it's a player for my defensive lineman to watch. It's a player that the guy that you mentioned, Teron Armstead, said, and he's going up against him, and he goes, he's going to have a standout year, more so in the stat line than ever before. So former first-round pick out of Clemson. Maybe he'll have a bust-out year this year. What is this video we're seeing?
This is just
here?
him. Just
this is Christian Wilkins.
I mean, he's
nice.
They're in Tampa getting a little practice and scrimmaging against them. But I love.
Look at him just like discard that dummy.
Look at him. He looks like he's lost a little weight, like trimmed up just a little bit, but he is a hell of a football player. He really is. He's a beast. And I like that you picked him, and I think you couple him with Raekwon Davis, who I'm a big fan of, the other big guy in the middle. That's where they're going to have great flexibility. Those are two guys that are – this is where they're special. Like we were talking about 4-3 and 3-4.
Yeah.
They can do both. They can be like, hey, we want you to be athletic and shoot the gap. And then the next play you can be like, we want you to just hold everybody up and stand there. And they can do that. And that's where, again, that's where you can be excited about this Dolphins football team.
Emmanuel Ogbah had a great year last year.
Exactly.
Got him back this year.
He's another guy that's just like that. Can kind of do both. And that's rare in the NFL.
Whew, we got to practice those names so much.
Holy crap.
When this is over. 5 minutes, we'll just sit here and just say the names after we're done here. Titans, hopefully they have easier names to say, and I think they do up and down the roster. They are plus 1,800 to win the AFC. King Carnage, he's got his eyes on two guys, Treylon Burks or Caleb Farley. Now, Farley was, as Pete notes here, your draft crush in 2021. Was hurt in college.
Right.
Didn't play much right.
Got hurt last year, too.
Tore his ACL week 6.
Just as he got out there, got playing, he was just getting over that back injury and all that. So those are the two guys to me. Definitely. I'm with you at King Carnage or at King Carnage. That's 100%. I'm going to go with Treylon Burks here if I got to pick one, just because the Titans' defense is good. They got some good cover guys. It's not like desperate Caleb Farley gets out there. The other situation, Treylon Burks, I do find a little bit, like, well, there's pressure on here. You got rid of A.J. Brown for this guy right here.
Can he be Deebo Samuel 2.0?
Yes. Yeah, that A.J. Brown. Can he be that guy? And I'm not sure. And, of course, he's had a little bit of an adjustment period in the NFL here, whether it's, I know he's had breathing problems and maybe some asthma and not in shape or whatever else. But I think the spotlight's on him. And for a team that maybe lacks explosive playmakers, I know Robert Woods is really good. We know Derrick Henry's awesome. The O-line's pretty good. They need him to be, a guy that can make some things happen on his own. So I'm going to go with Treylon Burks there.
Mahogany Woods also throws out there Malik Willis along with Treylon Burks.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I can't wait to watch Malik Willis. He's not starting quarterback this year. I'm not as worried about him because he's not going to have to be dependent on unless there's an injury in the regular season, but even, certainly pumped to watch him.
Because he has a year where you think maybe if all things go right for the Titans, he doesn't play at all, right? Ryan Tannehill plays. But would you find out, though, something about him this preseason? Like how he plays here can either indicate if, wow, okay, I think he has a better chance of sticking than maybe I thought previously.
I'm excited about his talent. I think as we said during the process, it's putting it all together. As far as going through reads, playing a game consistently, doing it the right way, that way. You know, as I think talked about, love the talent, but there was a lot of, even his best games, there's periods of where you go, whoa, that was 4 or 5 series that weren't that great. And then it's like, oh, my gosh, unbelievable play, touchdown. And then, oh, that wasn't a great drive. And then it's, whoa, what a throw, great job. And, that can be scary. And I think that's what scared people in the NFL, too, was just the consistency of going to the right place with the ball. The offense didn't necessarily set him up that way either. So I'm not certainly trying not to blame him all the way there. But, I think we can kind of glean something from him, certainly here in training camp and in the preseason.
They got their stud, Jeffrey Simmons, on their defensive line, maybe the best defensive lineman out there. The guy I'm going to watch, though, is DeMarcus Walker, signed in May, was named in the offseason, an offseason award winner on the team that I guess they do. They hand that out to like a handful of players. Vrabel was very complimentary of his work ethic. Former second-round pick by the Broncos, was in Houston last year. Maybe he can be a piece for the Titans.
I like your pick there, man. I really do. I think he could be very much like a Danico Autry type who was really great for them last year. He's another one of those guys, Ahmed, that's like can kind of do it all. Like you can go, he can play defensive tackle. He can play defensive end. He's strong enough to hold people at the point of attack, and he's quick enough to shoot a gap. And I think that's what they're looking for there. And, I got a lot of I got high expectations for that Tennessee Titans defense this year. I think this is the year they kind of all come together, and I'd say watch out. I would not be surprised if the Titans end up being, I'm trying to look. Last year I know they weren't statistically maybe as high as it showed. They were 12th in football. I'm going to say this year they're a team that flirts with top 5 for sure.
Oh,
top 5 defensive football. Yeah, I do.
1 seed last year, right? They were the 1 seed, and now they have the 9th best odds to win the AFC this year.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't get that either. People are sleeping on them.
Just ahead of the Titans. Yeah, Pete says no one likes Tannehill.
We do.
It's 2022. Tannehill's maybe not as good as he was last year, but we still believe in him.
Interception, bad tweet by Chris Simms.
Yeah. We're still going to hang on to that.
We've had better moments.
One more year. Browns at plus 1,400. Who do you got for the Browns? Who are you keeping your eye on?
Okay, this is my first cop out of the exercise. All right, I'm copping out here. All right, this is my first one because I'm just going, and this is easy for everybody to watch. Defensive tackle. That's all I want to say. Who's the defensive tackle going to be? Who's the starters going to be? Who's the guy that's just going to show up here in preseason to where we go, those are the starters. Those are the guys. To me, it's the only issue on their roster, right? We know the pass rushers are good. Garrett, Clowney, they added Chase Vinovich. Linebackers, cool with that. Secondary, amazing. But defensive tackle, hey, Jordan Elliott, who they took from Missouri a few years ago, I had high expectations for him. He has yet to really pop that way. Taven Bryan's on the roster, right? Who's a first-round pick by Jacksonville, ended up being, not a first-round worthy type talent for them. So who is it that's going to be in the middle of that defense? Tommy Togai from Ohio State 2 years in the draft ago. I liked him too. So again, Perion Winfrey from Oklahoma, crazy athlete who I think we talked about during the draft. Like, I like everything, but, anytime he gets hit from the side or anything, he would fall down. So I just don't know who it's going to be. Who is going to rise to the occasion for the Cleveland Browns in the interior part of that D line. There's my first cop out. Okay.
Well, we're on the same page here.
Yeah.
Because my defensive lineman to watch is also a defensive lineman and a defensive tackle. So we really are on the same page here. Yeah, you mentioned him.
Yeah.
Jordan Elliott.
Yes, right.
So, this whole group is considered weak, the defensive tackle group, because, of course, you got Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett on the outside. But Elliott, entering his 3rd year. Joe Woods talked about him.
Yeah? What do you say about him?
I think he changed his body.
Okay.
He goes, he's 320, but he looks 280.
Okay.
So it sounds like he got muscular, more ripped.
Right.
He looks a lot better.
Okay. Hopefully that is the case. They need a guy like him to pop here. And I thought he could be, one of these just crazy athletic, annoying, disruptive, the play up type of defensive tackles. And, yeah, it hasn't happened yet, and maybe this is the year it finally does.
Just ahead of them in the odds, the Indianapolis Colts, who, the Browns got some love as a Super Bowl team last year. You're hearing some love for the Colts this year. I think you've expressed some.
I do.
I've seen that on Twitter a little bit where people are like, don't sleep on the Colts here. You got Matt Ryan over there now.
Yep.
So for DG on draft, says Quiddy Pay. If he takes the next step, the Colts defense is going to be legit. So his eyes are on the defensive side and Quiddy Pay.
I don't disagree with him here. I mean, he's one of the two names I have written down. Okay, and I think we were saying this last year. They need, more splash players, more guys that I know they got a lot of good. They need some cream of the crop, rise to the top type of guys. Yannick Ngakoue, that's going to be a great addition for them on the edge too, to give them that. But yes. Again, this is Gus Bradley. We're talking about Seattle scheme again. And, yes, I totally am with him on that thought. I am going to go the wide receiver route here, though. And I really want to go, I wanted to just cop out and go, who's going to be the number 2, right, to Michael Pittman Jr.? I'm going to go with the guy I talked about on Pro Football Talk today with Florio. And he's a guy that I've loved forever, and that's Paris Campbell. I am. I know Alec Pierce is there, and I can't wait to watch him. I'm trying not to pick rookies for everything here too. And really, I know Alec Pierce is going to find his way. Paris Campbell has superstar talent, and he's not been able to stay healthy. And if he can show, okay, wait, he is healthy, and I still see that same burst and the ability to beat people over the top and all that, I'd go, watch out for the Colts then. Because Michael Pittman can do it all. Work the middle of the field, beat you deep, short routes, whatever. Decent tight end play. We know the run game is special. And now you add a guy that everybody's got to watch out for. And he's the kind of guy you can give a speed sweep to or reverse, and he can go 80 yards for a touchdown. In fact, I remember him doing that against Michigan and his last game for Ohio State. I really have my eye on him, and I'm rooting for him big time.
For people this year that said you hate Ohio State players with Garrett Wilson and Olave, you had Paris Campbell as the number 2 wide receiver in 2019, just below DK Metcalf.
Right.
You were high on him, and you
I
still
love
think he's just been not able to stay on the
field.
field.
I mean, he gets in last year, the first game, he catches a 50-yard touchdown pass and gets hurt like 2 plays later, or maybe on that play.
Yeah. And
got up and celebrated because he had adrenaline, but hurt his foot, I think, on that play. And, yeah, I want to watch that. He's had some lower leg issues, and, of course, that's always a little dangerous for a receiver.
Speaking of lower leg issues and someone who couldn't stay on the field last year, my defensive lineman to watch is going to be Tyquan Lewis, defensive end there. Had a patella injury last year. You might remember the play, returning an interception and then fumbled. But the Colts are high on him, and they extended him this offseason because they felt like he was coming on strong before that injury. So that'll be interesting to see.
He's a DeMarcus Walker type. So you like these type of guys. He's a DeMarvin Leal type.
I do.
It's that kind of guy.
You've got my type.
Yeah, I got your type. I knew it. All I had to do is meet your wife once, and I knew your type. That was it.
I know which type of defensive lineman he will like.
But it's those guys, like a guy like that popping on the scene, like we were talking about with Quiddy Pay. We know Armstead's going to be good. We know Yannick Ngakoue is going to be good. Not Armstead, sorry, DeForest Buckner.
Yes.
One of those big tree trunks that used to be in San Francisco. They need one of those guys to show up. And that'll, to me, because Gus Bradley, I think they're going to be a good defense. But if one of those guys, Adayo Odinyingbo, who I like from Vanderbilt, right, 2 years ago in the draft, I know we're getting killed with the names today. We're absolutely killing. But if that's where I go. Oh, the Colts, who I look at, are going to be a top 10-ish defense. If one of those guys pops, you go, oh crap, they're dominant. It's top 5-ish, and I could see that happening if one can rise to the occasion.
Colts, a lot of people like them to make the Super Bowl this year. We're hearing that out there. Good sleeper pick. The Bengals actually did make the Super Bowl last year and are just ahead of them at plus 1,100. I'm
a little surprised that both of these are.
I know. It's like there seems like, we're going to get to some teams, but maybe we're thinking that the love is unjustified.
Yeah.
But the Bengals is Jake TC 2001, Dax Hill for him. Due to the Jesse Bates contract situation, he has been thrust into that starting safety spot at camp.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, that is, and there's just a little more pressure on him Then now with Jesse Bates not being there, and if you remember during the draft process, he was the guy I compared him to actually, and then the Bengals ended up taking him.
Yep.
So I hear that. That's not the one I'm going to go with though. Who's going to be the other guard? That's what I want to know. Who is that going to be? And the guy I'm going to go with is I always mix up because he's got two first names. Jackson Carman. I always want to call him Carman Jackson.
Yeah.
Jackson Carman. Second-round pick out of Clemson 2 years ago. Kind of has tackle, guard versatility, maybe a hair raw. But I just go, whoa, if he can pop there, and now you talk about, Kappa, Alex Kappa, Karras at center, Jonah Williams at left tackle, Lyle Collins at right tackle, and now, we got this one guard position, and he ends up being what I think he can be and what they thought he could be, obviously, because he was the 33rd or 34th pick of the draft. I go, the Bengals offensive line can go from bottom, quarter of the league to top quarter of the league maybe. So that's the guy I'm gonna pick for mine. Jackson Carman, guard from second-year guard out of Clemson.
A lot of people looking at that offensive line because they were so porous last year and had trouble protecting Joe Burrow. And from reading up on the defensive line, I mean, that was the case. The defensive line just could not get to the quarterback in 2020. But they made a good jump in 2021. They're trying to build on that this year. Larry Ogunjobi left via free agency to the Steelers. So let's see if a guy like B.J. Hill can replace him. Started just a couple games last year, and so I think he's going to be important if they're going to continue or just maintain what they did in 2021 for him to be able to be a big guy in the middle.
Well, I like your pick there, man. I mean, B.J. Hill's a starting defensive tackle in football. He was on the Giants, and the Giants had too many defensive tackles, so he got traded there. And I think he'll show what he's worth here. I mean, DJ Reader is one of the best run-stopping defensive tackles in football. I mean, hey, I had the Rams coaches just flat out tell me, like, well, they were a little better inside than we thought. We thought we were going to be able to run the ball on them in that game.
Really?
And they just couldn't get over Reader, really, I think was the guy that they couldn't get over. They could not move him. You add him, like you're talking about with Hendrickson and all that, that defense maybe makes another, step in the right direction. And they got some guys to fill in, the back spots there. And, can a second-year player like a Joseph Asai from Texas, can he show up as a pass rusher? I'm excited for them. Hey, Cam Taylor-Britt, who they got from Nebraska at corner, it's another guy out of this last draft class that I really liked. He was a straight liner a little bit, but really explosive, got a little muscle and maybe thicker than your normal corner. Can he add to the mix? I mean, they have a lot of guys that I'm fascinated by. So, but I like your pick there, buddy.
See if it all comes together and they can get back to the Super Bowl next year. But their odds are worse to win the AFC than the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe a little surprising, but they got a lot of big dudes all over that team.
Do.
One I'll highlight. I'll just highlight my guy right off the bat
here.
Travis Jones, because you liked him too. That defensive lineman tackle out of UConn. Let me read what they're talking. I mean, he's already impressing in practice so far. 76th pick out of UConn. Teammate Michael Pierce said, "Did you see him today? He's special. They don't make too many like him. He can move." And so he's already impressing in training camp, which not a surprise to you because you loved him in the draft.
That was one of the shockers of the draft. I was like, did he lose a leg somewhere between, the season and the draft, or is there an arm missing?
Even if he did, he'd probably still be a third rounder in your mind.
I mean, I couldn't believe that he was still on the board there. And then, you just go, of course he ends up in Baltimore. He's big, he's freak, he's physical. Oh, he ended up in Baltimore. Shocker. I wrote him down. I did.
He's one that you were considering.
He was one I was considering for this because this is I think a thing. They're maybe a little old in the middle. Calais Campbell, it's coming to the end. Justin Matabuke from Texas A&M, he's a little bit undersized for them. He's a good player. Michael Pierce, is a big run game stuffer and all that. Jones can be that kind of do everything type of football player. So I'm glad you picked him, and I'm hoping he can show up for sure. I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman, though. I'm going with the low-hanging fruit here.
No, that's not low, but that's good.
I know. The Ravens are a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. They are. We can't forget how ravaged they were by injuries last year on both sides of the ball. They're one of those teams where you start to look at them and break them down again, and you start to go, whoa, they're kind of good. They got a lot of good players. They need not that they need superstar receivers. They just need you need somebody who's going to be that guy, at least that is the go-to guy, that can be, hey, it's 3rd and 12, and I can't always throw to the tight ends over the middle. I need to be able to rely on a receiver to make a play. Can he catch a curl route and break a tackle and get another 15 yards? And that to me, they lack the marquee go-to wide receiver on their roster. I expect it to be him. Of course, they liked him and drafting him in the first round. I had my questions about him coming out. I wasn't sure. He's one of those guys that I was a little bit like, I don't think he was worth the first-round pick. I know he was good. So I just want to watch that. And, of course, it being a big year for Lamar Jackson and everybody else there. So I'm going to be watching him.
James Prochet, right, was a 6th-round pick in 2020 out of SMU. Greatness Calls says he's watching him because he says that he has been Rashad Bateman's best friend as far as Prochet there. Ravens have put him in front of the mic and on social media more. He could be our Hunter Renfrow. So he's thinking wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got his eyes on Bateman, but maybe Prochet too.
No, and I think he says it right. He could be that kind of slot jitterbug guy that, works linebackers, works the nickel back underneath. They have a Devin Duvernay, who we know is, got some explosive ability too. But, yeah, I look at them and just go, this is the only part of their roster that I really question. And, this is a team that can maybe get away with it because they're so heavily built on their run game and great running backs and Lamar and everything there. So it is interesting to see where this goes. But, yeah, man, I like the Ravens. I can understand why they're plus 1,000, and honestly, I'm actually surprised maybe they're not a little higher.
Oh,
than
interesting.
That. Yeah.
So you were kind of low on them last year. I remember going into the season a little lower on them.
Yeah,
but maybe it's a different story this year.
It is for me at least.
I'm more surprised on this next one.
Yeah,
the Broncos at plus 850. I mean, for them to be above the Titans, the Bengals. I know.
Yeah,
Russell Wilson, right?
It's all that.
That's basically it, right?
Yeah.
The quarterback, new regime in there.
Yep.
Maybe more offensive minded. They do have some weapons.
Yeah.
But of all those players and a quarterback, who are you going to have?
Who are you going to go with? Tell me yours first.
Oh, all right. I'll go with mine first. Mine on my defensive lineman to watch is Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones.
You have a type. It is hilarious.
4th year in Denver.
I love
He's got that great first step in agility. I love that. That's my type. His pass rush moves apparently improved.
Yep.
Each year. Question with him is, can he be a run stopper?
Yeah,
so I think that's something to watch for them.
Yeah, it is something to watch for them. They are, they're one of those teams where you go, they don't have that big guy presence in the middle. But you love the 6'3", 285 guy. That's what I just realized.
Yeah.
Really, we should make a graphic of the guys, Pete, that he's made up so far, and you're going to see they all got the same body type too.
Yeah.
It's all the same person. They're playing on they're playing on all these teams.
Yeah.
And they just changed their name.
Actually, I just picked players that the names I can say. If you've noticed that so far,
that's a
that
good
helps.
thing to go.
That helps.
He fits that same guy we've been talking about. Whether it was DeMarcus Walker, DeMarvin Leal, he is like that. So I'm with you there. I want to see Bradley Chubb to see if he can regain form, but it's not the guy I'm going to pick because I'm going to pick DJ Jones. I'm going to go on the defensive tackle side. DJ Jones, to me, is the under-the-radar, nobody talked about him on the 49ers, and he was a big part of what made them so good on the defensive side of the ball. That, it's why I'm glad you're doing this, because I know that this is a guy we'll get to talk about more now and everything, because he's a guy that's like, I go, he's one of the better players in the league at the position that no one ever brings his name up and you never hear about.
Started all 17 games last year in the regular season with the 49ers.
They gave him what, a 3-year, $30 million contract or something along those lines. I think something in there. So, yeah, he's one that I'm looking for. And then Wazarike, who they took from Iowa State, I loved him, the rookie, and I think he was a 4th rounder. He would classify to me under the Travis Jones thing where I was like, what the is he still doing here in the 4th round? I don't understand it. But, yeah, I'm going to go with that DJ Jones. I'm excited for him to pop on the scene here.
All right, so that's interesting. With all the great playmakers on offense, our eyes are on the defense. But that makes sense, right? Because we feel like the offense should make a step forward. You expect to see it.
Yeah.
how's that defense going to be?
Yeah, no, I think that's. I would be shocked if the offense isn't really damn good. And hey, I want to see KJ Hamler come back, and can he be really explosive and all that? But I think the defense is the thing to watch here.
Maybe you could say the same thing about our next team, the Chargers, who are at plus 800. They got some holes on defense, of course. We're exciting on offense. Just missed out on the playoffs because they wouldn't tie the Raiders in the last week. Remember that whole thing, that controversy for a few days? It's like they should just tie. They should just take a knee and both teams get in the playoffs. They didn't do that.
It almost happened to tie. That's just crazy.
Now they're thinking they should have done that. They did almost tie. You're right. It came down to a field goal at the last second of overtime.
Crazy. And of course, controversial because they took the timeout, and people think, oh, the Raiders were just going to let the clock out. The Raiders were not going to let the clock run out. They weren't going to go with the tie. They weren't. They were going to run a play right there, and the Chargers were exposed, and they knew that, and they called the timeout to adjust, and, hey, it didn't work out.
But now they have the third best odds to win the AFC. How about that, at plus 800?
It's crazy. I mean, again, I'm not picking anybody on offense. I know their offensive line, hey, we want to continue to see that get better. They need a little bit more of a run game presence. I will say that as well. But I'm going to your world here. I'm going to the big uglies. I'm to pick Sebastian Joseph Day. They gave him some money in free agency. This was a horrible run-stopping defense last year where it became a joke at some points. We know they got secondary. We know they got pass rushers. Now they got to slow down the run game in the middle of the field a little bit. Joseph Day is a guy that Brandon Staley has some history with the Rams. He was hurt for the better part of last year, and I think he's one of those guys that, again, like we just talked about with DJ Jones, not everybody knows about, but he's a better player than people realize and has more of an effect on the game. I'll have my eye on him.
Yeah, was he healthy in the playoffs? Because he really didn't play at all. I think he played 3 games in three plays in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Super Bowl I think is the only game he was available for. I think that was the first game he was back, and I can't remember exactly. Did he get hurt? I can't remember what point of the season it was. It was either really early or maybe even preseason. It might have been even that last year.
Yeah. I'll go with the guy in the middle as my defensive lineman right next to him.
Yeah.
Joseph Day guy. Austin Johnson.
Okay, yeah.
Started all 17 games last year for the Giants. Same question. Can he help one of the worst run defenses in football last year?
And he's that run stuffer, clog the middle type of football player. And I think that was a really good sign by them. I'm excited for them. I think they're maybe getting a little too much respect as far as where they're being rated here by Vegas.
Khalil Mack. I mean, you got the signings on defense.
They got that.
Right?
J.C. Jackson. All right. I'm very excited about them, certainly. You know me. I'm just one that's I like to see it a little bit before we just crown them the champs over here.
Zachary Shelton says for the Chargers, Isaiah Spiller is the guy. I want to see how he adjusts to being a backup running back in the NFL.
Well,
I mean, he kind of has been. But.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is Isaiah Spiller, the draft pick out of Texas A&M.
Oh.
Right? Yes. Not C.J. Spiller.
I got the wrong guy.
You got the wrong Spillers.
Too many Spillers. Like the Joneses. Like too many Joneses, too many Spillers.
Right. Too many
You're
Spillers.
Right. Oh, totally. My mind just went to, I was like, Spiller, running back. I know what that is.
I got it. Right.
All
I'm
right,
an expert.
So yeah.
I host the podcast, and I knew it.
Zachary Shelton, I'm sorry. Now I am on board with Isaiah Spiller.
But it will be interesting to see there. They need Austin Eckler, we know he's a good player and can do it all. Who's going to be a little bit of the, power bell cow guy, and maybe Isaiah Spiller can be that. Isaiah Spiller, big and got some really good feet and quicks.
Yeah.
It was lack of real speed that didn't make him a top 5 running back for me, but I think he'll be successful in the NFL nonetheless.
CJ Spiller has been out of the league since 2017.
I didn't want to expose you. I wanted to be like, it's been a while there, Slugger.
I just thought maybe he was on a roster somewhere, just sitting, hanging out, not doing much. So I didn't even react to the fact that he made a comeback here after 5 years.
I love it.
Isaiah Spiller, totally different man. Second team favored to win the AFC. It's not the Bills, it's the Chiefs. So the Bills are favored to win the whole thing, the AFC this year. So we'll go to the Chiefs here, plus 550. Got a lot of players you can pick from here. The homies have suggested a couple here, but Chris, let's go with yours first.
It is interesting. I mean, I know I'm going to have to make Super Bowl picks at some point, but man, I'd have a hard time not picking the Chiefs still. I'm just telling you. I have too much faith in the Chiefs. I hear your Frank Clark You got Frank Clark.
Oh, you just exposed
I didn't
mine.
mean to.
What? You just gave it away.
I totally just had a blonde New Jersey moment and just read the name that was in front of me.
Frank Clark is my guy, as you already know. According to his teammate, Chris Jones, who will line up next to him, he's completely transformed. Lean machine, pure muscle. I think he's going to be special, and they need that from him. He was criticized last year for maybe not coming into camp in shape and not having that motor last year, so we'll see if Frank Clark. He's my guy to watch, as Chris told
I like that. But I do like that, and he does have to have a big year for what they're paying him, trading for him a few years ago. And, yes, it wasn't very good, especially, maybe the first 10 weeks of the year last year. The reason I read that, and I didn't mean to, is I'm on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick him, but I do. Who's going to be the other guy across from him? That's where I want to go. Carlos Dunlap. We know they signed him, but the guy I'm going to pick is George Karlaftis, the guy they chose at the end of the first round from Purdue, who I really liked. To me, he had some Ryan Kerrigan traits about him, who's one of the best pass rushers in the history of the Washington Commander franchise. And I just look at him. I want to see him because if they can get Frank, which all sounds like he's coming back to being Frank Clark, and now you got George Karlaftis, I just go, well, now, Spags doesn't have to be so creative with blitzes and disguises and crazy shit all the time to create pressure on the quarterback.
Yes.
So and he was the other reason I'll say Karlaftis just because I think it was a very polarizing player in the draft process. There was
tweener.
A little bit of a tweener, exactly right. Where there were some teams that I think really liked him and thought, man, he could go in the top 16, top 18 of the draft. And then others that were like, he's just not long enough. And I don't know if he's got some of the traits to be a top-level pass rusher. I'm the one that thinks he should have been a top 20 pick. He was sitting there. And if he can be a guy that can win off the edge consistently and kind of be that presence, I just go, oh, man, the Chiefs – they got, linebackers should be good. We know Chris Jones is one of the best D tackles in football. The secondary's got players all over it, and that would be the finishing touch right there.
There are some reports that some of the young guys on defense are kind of reshaping that defense and maybe going to not have those rookie struggles, and maybe they'll actually be better than they were last year. Lip Smacking Good says he's going to be watching corner Joshua Williams, fourth-round rookie from Fayetteville State.
Can fly, and another long guy.
I'd like to see where he is excelling and where he is stumbling and how he is learning and reacting to his mistakes. Between him and Trent McDuffie, I'm really interested to see how the secondary looks.
Yeah, me too. I am as well. The secondary was a little underwhelming last year. It was an issue. Spags had to earn his money last year. I think the addition of Reed, I keep wanting to say Justin Reed. It's not Justin Reed. It is Justin Reed, right? Am I right about that? Yes,
CJ Spiller.
I'm getting his brother mixed up in my brain. But you put him and Juan Thornhill there at safety. And, again, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, like him. Rashad Fenton, who I think is a very good nickel back. They added Alani Johnson, who's not a bad player there, too. And then you talk about, can one of these young guys jump on the scene here, too, to add to it? Williams is one of those guys that, kind of like we talked about the guy from Seattle the other day, Woolen, right, from UT San Antonio.
Yeah, yep.
Tariq Woolen, right? Where it was kind of like that, where it's like, ooh, he's long and he can fly when he takes off. He's kind of specimen, but damn, he didn't have to play one good receiver. And how good does he change direction and all that? Sounds like he's been impressive. Let's see if he can, perform in the preseason here.
So they're Vegas' second pick to win the AFC. They might be Chris Sims' first pick.
I think
to
they
win
might
the
be.
AFC.
Right. I'm not sure about that yet, but I think
he
so.
Still has to think about it. But Vegas likes the Bills, plus 325. The homies have chimed in with a bunch of names here. Scarecrow Boat says Josh Allen. I don't care about how the depth players look. Leave that up to the coaches to sort out. I just like watching Josh Allen throw the ball. So it's not an evaluation thing for him. He's just like, I just want to see Josh Allen play again.
He's just like, don't take your eyes off him because it's addicting, and he does crazy shit. Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, him and Patrick Mahomes, to me, are clearly the best quarterbacks in football. They can just do it all. They can be surgical, and they can make plays that are just out of this world. So I like the obvious, pick there by Scarecrow Boat.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking defense.
Okay.
All right. There's two areas to me that are underwearing, and I see this name on here from some people already on there. So, corner has been an issue. I get that, but I'm not going to make that my thing. I'm not. And, Kyer Elam from Miami or from Florida, they drafted him in the first round. And, our corner
rankings?
No, they're Tre'Davious White. Thank you very much, Pete. Tre'Davious White, who got hurt last year. Right. Is he going to be full speed go? I do want to question that. But they kind of classify to me a little bit like, I know they were the number one defense last year, but to me they weren't really the number one defense. I feel like they kind of feasted on the poor, and anytime they had to play a really good offense, they didn't really slow people down or stop them. And that worries me a little bit. All right? But so almost like the Colts where we were talking about before, like they need some guys that can just make some plays. It can't always be, Leslie Frazier and McDermott having the perfect game plan and putting everybody in the right spot and confusing offenses that way. I'm going to go with Gregory Rousseau.
Ooh. They
need another guy. I know Von Miller is going to be good. They need a guy that can, end the game. Get pass rush on Patrick Mahomes at the end of the football game and get a sack, get a strip sack, something like that. They don't have that. I know Von Miller is going to provide some of that, but if we're talking Super Bowl and that type of defense and you want to win the AFC, they need somebody else to show up to the show here, and I'm going to go with Gregory Rousseau there.
You've been kind of in my territory here.
I know.
A lot.
Yeah.
You're poking around in the defensive lineman world.
How dare I?
Because I'm going a guy that's going to line up right next to him, Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
This defensive line has looked pretty good, I guess, in training camp for them. And reports are that he has been unblockable at times, Ed Oliver.
Good.
Maybe a little bit of a slow start to his career, right?
Yes, exactly right.
Can he be a huge force in the middle next to Rousseau, your guy to watch?
I'm with you there. He's top 10 pick. He was better last year. He was. Now, does this, year 4 end up being like, oh, crap, he's kind of turning into a superstar? It could be. There are definitely signs of that, and, I think he's got all the right tools and mindset to be that guy. Hopefully it works out. But, I have to imagine that was a focus of their football team, that we got to get more out of the D line. I can't always have Leslie drawing up the perfect, blitz package that fools the scheme, and this guy drops out, and this does that. It's just it's too much on them. And they need the players to start balling out and creating some of this disruption.
Tommy G's looking at the offense and saying James Cook.
Oh, I like that,
brother of Delvin Cook,
exactly.
Correct, running back.
Right.
He says he can be the versatile weapon to take some of the big playmaking pressure off of Allen and Diggs.
I'd agree with that. I'm a big James Cook fan. And, not that I don't like the Devin Singletaries of the world and all of that. But to me, this is the same guy, but with another rocket up his ass, to where, a lot of these passes and plays we've seen over the last few years where he, hey, we're worried about Josh Allen down the field, and then he dumps it off to Devin Singletary, and, hey, he makes a nice play and gets 20 or 30 yards. With James Cook's, it's going to be a 60-yard touchdown. He has got another level of speed to him, like his brother Dalvin up in Minnesota, that I just think is going to make them really dangerous. So I'm excited to see him too.
I love that exercise.
I do too.
We got to do that every training camp, and that's good.
We'll keep it going.
Kind of focuses us on who we're thinking about most and watching. We'll revisit these guys as the preseason goes on. So that is the AFC. Now it is time to talk to the homies. Maybe the scariest part of the pod right now, 3 human beings who were inside the head of Chris Simms when he was making his top 40 countdown. Hello, homies. So I'll introduce here, and when I say your name, if you could wave to our viewing audience on our new YouTube page, and so they know who you are. We got Matthew Barranco up there from New Jersey. Hello, Matthew.
What up, Jersey? Yeah, Jersey.
Hey.
Jersey in the house. You guys can bro out on Jersey here in a second. Parker McMillan here as well in the lower corner there. Hello, Parker.
How's it going?
What's up, Parker?
Chris Rodriguez out in California. Hello, Chris.
Hey, guys.
All right, so these three men, Chris,
yes,
were in your head when you were making your top 40 countdown. Pete wanted the homies to submit who they thought you would go with in your top 10, and no one got the whole top 10 right, but these 3 men got 1 through 8 exactly right.
Right. Impressive. They gotta be listeners of the pod to know that, to gleam and get that close there. And hey, like really, my 9 through 13, I think people was a little controversial as far as where that went. So,
you didn't even know who you were going to pick there, right?
So the fact that they got the top 8 correct was really phenomenal. It definitely is.
All right, so Matthew, what was your process going through this?
Well, Chris has been talking about Josh Allen all off season, so I knew that was going to be number 1. And what the real challenge was placing Aaron Rodgers for me, as I knew that Chris has been talking a lot about how his movement skills weren't as great as they were. He's talking and I know that Chris loves athletic traits in guys,
right?
Big guys who can throw it, can run it, and so getting Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, in front of Aaron Rodgers, that was kind of like the toughest part for me. But I, got that. And then I knew that I knew that no players in your top 5 from a previous year had ever fallen out of your top 10. And that's why I maybe put Deshaun Watson number 10.
Look at you. You're doing analytics on my brain here. I like this.
Yeah.
Man. See, they just make them a little smarter in New Jersey sometimes. They just do.
Although Chris is nodding his head as though it's like, yeah, that's common knowledge. Yeah, well, that's how I made my list. How did you make your list, Chris?
Well, I mean, I listen religiously. I've got a 45-minute commute to work every day, and my family just gets tired of, rockets up his ass all the time coming out of the radio. So I had definitely listened very closely. And, as you know, Ahmed, Chris drops a lot of hints, whether he knows he's doing it or not. I mean, no question that he was in love with Josh Allen. And, I thought Joe Burrow, I almost put him a little higher because of how glowingly Chris talks about him. But just a matter of trying to pick up those breadcrumbs from every day's pod and put them together, and that's where it came out. So.
Context clues.
And I didn't mean to do that, Chris. I don't. I just can't help myself sometimes. And it's great that you guys are like private investigators over here. You sure you guys are in the right business?
I know. Yeah. So Parker, what was your philosophy, and how'd you put together your top 8?
Well, I think the top 3 were pretty obvious. And then the way Chris talked about Burrow, you could tell that he had a pretty good man crush on him. So I went ahead and put him in 4th spot. And then, of course, you talk about the Rodgers decline as some of the other guys. So you knew he had to be a little bit lower this year. And so after that, I just took what I thought Chris was going to do with Russ and Brady were the 2 tougher ones to get in that top 8 with rating that, because I would have put Brady up. But that's just what happens whenever you get almost 2 years of listening to Chris talking about quarterbacks.
No, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. And I'm impressed that you've snuck away, it looks like, to a bathroom to do this interview. Where are you? What are you doing there, Parker?
This is my mom's classroom. I work at a technology department during the summer for the high school that I used to go to, and it's my mom's classroom that I had to run away to. Awesome.
I love it. I think that's where I'm most impressed with all 3 of you, is the fact that you kind of figured out. I thought the Rodgers at 5 when and again, I didn't go into the process thinking I was going to put Rodgers at 5.
I don't think I would have put Rodgers at 5.
Yeah, you would have put him higher.
And
right?
I'm with you 2 days a week.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I didn't think I was going to go there, but after I started, compiling the list and watching film, I came to it, and that was one where I was just like, oh, well, this is going to screw over every listener we have because they're not going to expect this, but not these 3 guys right here, which thoroughly impressed. I really am. I mean, you all 3 of you seem like you've been listening for a few years, and I'm humbled by that. So thank you very much for being such loyal listeners.
Yeah. How long have you guys been listening? Back to the Bleacher Report days, Matthew? Is that how far back you go?
I've been listening since Chris started appearing on PFT.
Okay.
I first got into football around 2018, 2019, around there. And I liked how, Florio can sometimes put out some whatever stuff, but for most of it, you guys keep it in the realm of possibility. There was other shows that were very hot take-ish, and I appreciated how you guys were thoughtful in your process. And so I've been watching you guys ever since, and started watching the pod started being made.
Thanks. He's from Jersey, and he doesn't really like Florio that much, so that's my kind of guy. I like this guy a lot.
I tried not to talk during that moment so that you can use that clean clip on Florio's show tomorrow.
Right, right.
That'd be amazing.
That'll be good. That'll be good.
Chris, how about you? How did you end up listening to crazy Ahmed and me on a regular basis?
So Ahmed was a surprise. I didn't know he was even involved in the pod, but as soon as the Niners traded up to 3 last year, and I'm a huge Niner fan, I'm assuming you got a fair amount of followers this way.
Yes.
Knowing that you and Kyle are tight, I wanted to, see if you might reveal anything. I mean, was super into it. And I remember the first show that I listened to, you had on these people from the UK doing their quarterback cadence,
right?
Blue 39 with the British accent, and I thought that was freaking hilarious, and I think I was hooked from about that moment. So.
Thank you. So that's awesome. So he wanted to get the inside look on his football team, and I led you with such great information there, and told you it was going to be Mac Jones, number 3 all the way.
Good
so
job,
you probably
Chris.
loved me for that.
Yeah. I was telling all my friends, and I was dead wrong. So.
Yeah, but he's still here though. He's still here, even despite that.
So maybe he agrees with me more than the 49ers. Or I don't know. But
exactly.
We'll see. We're rooting for Trey.
Very excited. Would have had Lance higher than 31 for sure. We'll see what happens.
I hope he proves me wrong. I'll say that much. I'm rooting for the Niners.
Parker, you're out in New Mexico. So what team do you root for? I'm curious here.
Yes, sir. I'm a Bears fan.
Bears fan.
Brian Urlacher from down here, so.
Oh, that makes sense.
Eat it.
I don't like.
He's a Bears fan.
Which I was really liking Parker too. That's the unfortunate thing about this whole thing. Could be a rough year for the Bears, just like my Lions.
No, you're hoping for that.
That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, what do you think about the Bears? What do you think about Justin Fields year 1?
I'm excited, honestly, but it was a little bit of a rough day yesterday with Rokon asking for a trade. So that was a little bit rough to start the year. So, but if they win a handful of games, I'd be happy with that.
I got you. So it's the Urlacher connection, and that, I understand that.
Cool.
So sometimes that's all you need. All right, so what I want to know, Parker, you got the top 8 right, and that's amazing. You said you would have had Brady higher. How much higher would you have had Brady there?
I'd probably have him right at 6 or so.
Okay.
Probably, right before Stafford.
All right, that's cool.
I don't know. It's a little bit interchangeable right there with Burrow.
You can make that argument easily.
No doubt about it. I'm not saying I'm God's gift to the world here with quarterback rankings, and then I understand that. There's logical reasons, behind that. Okay, and then the next thing I would like to ask you, and you got, Chris and Matthew, you have your answers ready too. But so Parker, who did you put at 9 and 10, where everybody got this wrong?
I can't remember which ones I put on my list out there, but I think I would have it Lamar and then Dak.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and I had a Dak and Lamar, right? So yep.
In your list, we have the list here. You all three of them had the same thing.
Did they really?
So maybe even more so than they were in each other's heads as much as they were in your head. They had Kyler 9 and they had Deshaun Watson 10.
Wow.
Deshaun was the wild card there. I didn't know exactly what you were going to do with him.
Right.
So they all had the same thing there.
All right. So that's that. I mean, those are good thoughts. I think putting Kyler at 12 probably shocked a few people. I don't think that's totally crazy there. And all right, so I want all of your I like that Parker. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Were you going to say they're number 1? Did you have you convinced all of them that Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the NFL?
Well, yeah. Well, you know what? I like that. Like. So, do you guys all agree that Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football, or would you have put number 1? And you go ahead, Matthew. You could start that first.
Well, I would say that I agree that right now he's number 1. I was at the Buffalo playoff game. It was my second football game I've ever been to. Man. I mean, unbelievable game in that weather. I mean, it was a nice night, even though it was freezing. But I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be really locked in this year.
Yeah.
And by the end by maybe your midseason QB rankings or the end, I feel like he's
going to be the guy.
Really
overtake.
Take it.
All right. So number 1 for
But
Matt.
I think that Josh Allen is absolutely incredible.
All right, it's a great answer, and I don't think you're crazy with that thought. To think that Mahomes will be extra motivated, no Tyreek Hill, losing that AFC Championship game. What about you, Chris? Were you on the Josh Allen train, or would you have gone somewhere else?
No, I mean, he's unbelievable, and especially that last playoff game he had against Mahomes, I think was fresh in everybody's mind. So he's tough to pull away from that one spot. I think Burrow over the next 5 years is probably gonna, I think he is part Brady in that way. He's part Joe Montana.
Yeah.
He has something that, certainly I'm not a trained quarterback evaluator, but he finds a way to do it, and it's pretty awesome. So I'd probably have him a little bit higher. I think Herbert's got the physical talent, but hasn't really proven, to have that it factor when it matters. So I'm excited to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, no doubt. They're all damn good. We know that. So we can all, agree on that for sure. And then Parker, who would have been your number one?
Yeah, I think you can't really get rid of Allen from that spot right there. I mean, my guy is really Herbert, because I don't watch a whole lot of Buffalo Bills being down here, but I really like to watch Herbert. I just haven't seen him win, as they say, the big game yet. So we'll see how he continues to progress.
All right, that's a good answer. All right, so I gave Parker the chance to say what he would do with that top 8 or whatever, and I want to give you guys all a chance to pick apart my top 8 that you guys got so right. What about you, Matthew? What was the big shocker to you, or who's the guy in your world and your evaluation that you would have maybe moved around there?
Well, first of all, I got to say, I put Kyler at 9, and I got to tell you, that's like the Bears drafting Tevin Jenkins. It was just a misstep all the way. No, sorry, Parker. But I would probably put Tom Brady at 7, put Russ at 8. Just, with the finger, Russ was just a little bit off that last year.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's going to come back and do awesome in Denver. I've really been trying to figure out whether I'd switch Burrow and Herbert.
Right.
But
I went back and forth.
Watching that Raiders game.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of change, honestly. I was again, like with you were saying, like the 9 to 13 range was a tough range. I agree. I really kind of agree with a lot of your list. I got to tell you, at least the top 10.
Good.
I think Derek Carr could honestly switch with Dak this year, just because I feel like that, it's reminiscent of 2007 Patriots. He had a very similar year to Tom Brady in 2006. And now it's kind of like 2007. You got a big time, great wide receiver. Josh McDaniels is going to be your head coach / offensive coordinator. I feel like, they could really explode.
I like it. He's calling a shot.
All right.
I like
too,
that.
Is that the brainwashing is working.
And Chris,
clearly the brainwashing is working.
Yeah, I mean, he's totally brainwashed. He drank the same water I did growing up, so he's all messed up in the brain. All right.
Yeah.
And Chris, how about you? What about your top 8 there? What would you have changed about my rankings?
I mean, I don't think that I have a real strong sense about what I would have changed. I mean, I hope that next year's top 10 will have Trey Lance in it. Not to beat a dead horse, but we'll see. I mean, I think he's had an up and down training camp. That's the one that I really pull for. But, all of those guys, you really can't go wrong with any of them. I think that top 4 maybe separate themselves a little bit, just being the young kind of the future of the league that they are. But besides that, not a whole lot that I would have changed.
All right, it's good to hear.
Trey Lance, 31 on the list.
Oh,
I know. See if he goes up.
I know. Trust me. I got, friends that are friends with, me and Kyle Shanahan and Dan. They gave me a lot of crap when this list came out. So I'm getting it from everybody. Don't worry. And again, I'm a de facto 49er fan, as anybody would know.
True.
But
Chris, can I ask you a question? Have you talked to Kyle? I know you always say we never talk. He's too smart to talk to me about stuff.
Right.
Have you talked to him about the ranking at all? Has he acknowledged?
He did not. I did see Kyle this summer, and he did not bring up my ranking. He did not. And honestly, I think he tries very hard not to get in conversations with me about his football team, and I understand that completely, and I have no problem with that. So we usually keep it light and easy with the 49ers and then talk about the rest of the league. That's usually how our friendship works. And, that happens with a lot of my coach friends because they're so focused on their team. They a lot of times going, wait, I don't know what's going on with this team. I don't know what's going on with that team. And that's where, our conversations more or less go. But, he doesn't give. I don't think he gives a damn about my rankings. Really,
yeah, Chris shows up and goes, "Well,
what did you think?
What'd you think? What'd you think of what? My rankings." I go, "What rankings are you talking about? I'm trying to run a football team here."
But I will say, Parker, Chris, Matthew, really humbled that you guys are such loyal listeners, and it's amazing that you got the top 8 right. It really is. You're in my head. I hope you're not, too much THC in your brain or anything now since you were in my head, right?
Month.
All right. Yeah, I'm taking the month off too right now, so I'm extra crazy.
Yeah.
But seriously, thanks for listening to the pod. Thanks for being such loyal listeners, and Ahmed and I both appreciate it. And go ahead.
Should we clap it up for him?
Well, we should clap it up, and we're gonna send you some merch, right?
Oh.
Whenever Ahmed can stop, keeping it all for himself in his own closet, and we can get more, we're going to send some things all three of you
promises,
your way, okay?
Within this decade, we will send you some merch. So that will happen. But Matthew, Parker, Chris, awesome. Thanks for interacting with us, and keep listening. Keep sending the questions too.
Yeah.
We'll read them as we go here. Now, super friends of the pod.
Let's do it, and let's do it all together. We might as well. I mean, I know it's over Zoom at all, but it's the end of the pod, and that's it for Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Hope everybody enjoyed. We'll be back Monday. It's the first weekend of preseason football coming up. All right, so everybody be tuned in. Please send in all your questions. I'm going to do my damnedest to watch it all. Ahmed, thanks for driving the ship.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. See you Monday. Be safe. Clap it up.
Clap it up, everyone. Clap it up.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.